Hi, everybody. Welcome to a conversation with Emily Wardill. Um, and joining us in this conversation, aside from myself, is artist Magnus Sigurdarson. I am Leighton Rodriguez Casanova, co-founder, co-director of Dimensions Variable. And I have the pleasure of introducing our speakers today, and I will let them chat for the remainder of this conversation. First of all, I want to introduce, but before I introduce everyone, I want to just give a shout out to our supporters, the Knight Foundation, the Warhol Foundation, the state of Florida, the Miami-Dade County, Light Arts. Super grateful for their ongoing support of our programs. And I also want to give a special thanks to our board and for just for their support and work in helping us achieve our goals. And with that, I'm going to introduce everyone now. First of all, Emily Wardill works in Lisbon, Portugal, and Malmo, Sweden. Wardill's work has been exhibited at Sessions Vienna, Coda Helsinki, Bergen Kunsthal, Index Stockholm, the National Gallery of Denmark, Copenhagen, the Apple Arts Center in Amsterdam, the Contemporary Art Museum St. Louis, List Center MIT Boston, and ICA London. Her works are included in group shows in Te Tui, New Zealand, XYZ Collective Tokyo, the Biennale of Moving Images Geneva, the Serpentine Gallery London, just to name a few. Wardill's work is in the collections of the Tate Britain, MoMA Vienna, Gulbenkian Art Museum, Arts Council Collection of Great Britain, as well as numerous private collections. She is represented by Collier, Gumbar, Berlin, and Standard Oslo, as well as Altman Siegel in San Francisco. She currently works as a professor at Malmo Art Academy, Sweden, and as a visiting tutor in Malmö's Lisbon. Joining her is our very own Magnus Sigurdarson. Magnus works between Miami and Reykjavik, Iceland. He's also he also has a studio with us at Dimensions Variable and is part of our family here. He has exhibited in Reykjavik Art Museum, the Icelandic Consulate in Berlin, Dimensions Variable, the Sky Museum and Gardens, and the Museum of Contemporary Art in North Miami, to name a few. Sigurdarson studied art at the Studio Cecile and Graves, Florence, Italy, the Icelandic College of Arts and Crafts, the Mason Gross School of Arts, Rutgers University, New Brunswick, New Jersey. He is a Fulbright Scholarship recipient with multiple grants and awards. His works are included in the collections of Deborah and Dennis Scholl, Alberto Chibar, Miami Beach, and many other collections, including the Icelandic National Gallery, the Icelandic Municipal Museum, Reykjavik-related group in Miami, and many private collections. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Magnus and Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
And with that, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and chat, and I'm going to disappear for a while. See you later.
See you later.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Magnus.
He didn't include. Didn't you just won like a prize for this exact same installation?
Oh yeah, thanks for remembering. I did just win the EMAF prize.
Which is what?
It's the European Media Art Festival prize. I won it last year. It was very nice to win that.
Yeah. Where was that?
It's in Osnabrück in Germany.
In Osnabrück.
Yes, I did.
Very good. And you were there, of course.
No, when I won it, it was lockdown, so it was one of these sort of odd moments of being touched when you've been isolated for a long time, which is partly why it was so moving. But then I went back. I just went back there to be there for the festival in person.
Oh.
And someone else won it. Jamie Crew won it,
Oh.
and that was also really nice to be there.
So are you selected for this, or are you proposed for this, or how does it work?
I put Night for Day into the festival, and then there's a jury, and then they use their discerning powers of judgment upon that which is put before them. But
but is it like a big show? Is it or is it the screenings?
It's a screen. It's an experimental film festival. It's a bit like one that I did years ago in Oberhausen. It was a kind of it's an artist's film experimental. It's run by Catherine Munt, who's extremely dedicated and intelligent and does it really well. And then she invites a lot of different programmers who come in, and they do also amazing programs. I hadn't quite realized how good it was until I went in person, and then I was very.
But this is like the fundamentals of your art, that it's somewhere in between all kinds of things. It is a film. Would you call yourself like a filmmaker?
Yeah, sometimes I make films, sometimes I make sculptures, sometimes I make.
Yeah, I noticed that you think about them in 3D as a three-dimensional things, which I kind of like, because we met not that long ago. We met in Moscow in what was it, November or no, December?
Yeah, was it
November?
Beginning of December.
Yeah. So I didn't know so much about your work until then, and then we shared that space for like 10 incredible days. We'll come back to Moscow, but I'm just saying, like, because that was the sense that I got, like, immediately, that these were like kind of like sculptures.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're also always about these imaginary spaces, or how you can kind of construct imaginary spaces that don't ever really materialize, or kind of work around that idea of that. But then they set space to be always in between one thing and another thing.
Okay, so Night for Day, which is the work that you have in at TV. Tell me a little bit about that. Introduce it a little bit, like, for example, what is it? Where does it? What's the first idea?
So it's based around a fake relationship between a woman called Isabel de Carmo.
Can I stop you now?
Yes.
Because I find it so funny that you use the word fake.
Yeah.
Like all films are fake. Kind of like all art is fake. But no, I'm just like, it's not a criticism. It's just like I find it funny that you. Okay.
But I think within the context of this, because it's set up as an interview with real people, the fakeness of their relationship, of course, every dramatic conceit is, Alan Rickman is not the lover of Juliet Stevenson in Truly Madly Deeply, for real. we're used to that. Most people are used to being able to cope with that. So I understand what you're saying, but the fake relationship in this instance is that you listen to the real Isabel de Carmo talking, and in the conceit of the film is that she's the fake mother of these two young men who are developing machine learning algorithms to recognize moving images. So the fakeness is in their familial relationship.
Does that come across that they are the sons of her?
I mean, there's two things. One is that there's this idea that the film itself could be being made by an algorithm, and that this voice that you hear that keeps on coming in it could be the son, or it could be a computer voice. You don't really know. But that also this whole kind of mishmash of real interviews that I did, and then found footage and footage that I shot, and all of this stuff that comes together with this sort of wild discrepancy in a way also somehow mirrors that idea that it could be a computer trying to jostle with the idea of how would I make a real film, and it would look like, and perhaps it would look like this.
How would I make people believe me?
Yeah, exactly. Well, what would a film look like if it was made by a computer? Would it look? Which is something they also talk about at some point. But yeah, the voice at the bottom kind of addresses as though, it talks to its mum.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Okay. And like I'm sorry, we maybe jumped a little bit ahead. Talk a little bit, just what that piece was about, or how it started. Sorry.
That's what I was trying to do, Magnus, before you interrupted. Yeah. So it's about a fake relationship. Can you handle that? Between Isabel de Carmo, who was important in the revolutionary brigades in Portugal that overthrew the longest running fascist dictatorship in Europe, and she is talking about her involvement in that, and she's also talking about her politics and how her politics hits her life. She's also a practicing doctor. She was, and she still is. And then she has these sons that are only really sons through the construct of the film. And they are kind of a contrast to her utopia of equality and her utopia of trying to sort of equal out society and also kind of break free of this oppressive regime. Her utopia is then contrasted with their utopia, which is this kind of techno-utopic space of out there, or this kind of imaginary, often like caught up in a sort of love affair with sci-fi, but it's sort of unsituated. And also it has this idea of kind of digital losslessness in it. So it's sort of as though it's not of the world, but better than the world in a way.
Oh, wow. No, it's funny, like, because how like with the Russian invasion in Ukraine, this was kind of like a vintage thing that you're like listening to, and then like it's old and it's like maybe a history. Like I don't, I knew about Portugal and I knew about the fascist regime, but I didn't know anything more. Basically, like very little, like in my history books or about this period and blah, blah, blah. So you're listening like through this and kind of like understanding a little bit about like the history of Portugal, but you regard it as vintage, and then reality hits you and it's not at all vintage. It's actually like what's happening right now, and it's like a little bit like going to Cuba and realizing that you're in a time machine and you're actually going back in time, like these like little things that kind of like shape shift like our reality, like it's almost like that that is fake, like I know it's real, but like it sounds like fake.
What sounds like fake?
Like the like historical events that are happening around you, which you had kind of dealt with and put into the into the vintage chamber of your brain, but then it's not.
Yeah, and also at some point she talks about the bombing the NATO base in Fonte d'Italia, and you also sort of realize that these imperialist ambitions that we see playing out through what's essentially a proxy war is these things were never resolved. They were accelerated.
Oh. So how when you started like this Night for Day, so you got interested in that person?
Not initially, actually. Initially I wrote, I got interested in A Long Day's Journey into Night, the Eugene O'Neill. Yeah. So that play that he wrote, that he said you weren't allowed to publish it until after he died, because it's about his mother's opium addiction. And I was trying to rewrite it as though the mother wasn't using opium, but she was experimenting with LSD, and it didn't get increasingly lighter as it does in the play. increasingly darker as it does in the play, but it got increasingly lighter.
Oh.
And I wasted a lot of time writing that script that I couldn't find the fun to do. And then at some point I realized, I have to scale it back. I had to have just 2 characters, or maybe 3 characters maximum. And I also felt like it was maybe a little bit indulgent. And then I also felt as though it was maybe time for me to sort of situate stuff in Portugal. Since I'd been living here, I felt like it was long enough to make something, as long as I was careful not to look like I thought I was some expert. So it's sort of this kind of a lot of things, as often happens when you're making work. I'm sure it also happens to you that you sort of have ideas and then they have to kind of mutate according to how your life went.
Absolutely. You never end up with your first idea. That's just like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And then it just takes a life on its own. You use a lot of like found footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
my question is, like, when you have like everything in the world, how can you put something in there? And well, why did you put? There must be a line of thought why you put this thing, the cowboy, or like, like how do you structure that? How do you?
I was trying to do it musically, as though, because the way that the edit came together was in a very different kind of collage-y way. So once I got this structure of him trying to describe who someone else is through the frequency of 3 and having these 3 images, I already had that. And then the triangle came because of the house being in the shape of a triangle. But actually, I didn't know that when I first found that house. I found it out because I Googled it with the architect who helped get me in touch with the architect, the wife. Anyway, there was like a convoluted thing, and we looked at it on Google, and then I found out that it was a triangle. And then Jalal started trying to talk to me about Base, his hero, because I also wanted to do this thing that the sons didn't become completely uncomplicated. I also wanted to know who their heroes were, not just who Isabel's heroes are. And so his hero was Base. And Base was his hero because of this idea of being able to draw conclusions from frequencies of 3, which was liberating for astrophysicists, which is what Jalal is. So you kind of that helped me to get this frequency of 3, and then the actual images themselves. It was a question of trawling through. I mean, a lot of it's my footage that it's like diary footage, and then some like the behind the scenes of the Planet of the Apes was also because I was also because of this fake thing of when you're pretending to be an ape. These men pretending to be apes really appealed to my my idea of like this harking back to like a simpler time, that often you hear in fascist tendency, like, oh, wasn't it great in the good old days? And then having these kind of men running around as CGI apes acting in this very kind of brutish way seemed like a kind of hilarious way of kind of making fun of that somehow.
Yeah, but like sometimes it's mind blowing. I always thought that Gollum from the Tolkien's, he should have got an Oscar because he was like he was a masterpiece. He was fantastic. Because there was an actor behind it anyway, like it wasn't like and these apes, now you put on a green screen like jumper thing with like points and you do the things, but in the good old days you just put on a costume and pretend to be a monkey.
But that thing also of humans pretending to be animals that are then pretending to be humans, these sort of levels of remove, really,
true.
Really, there's something like very appealing about that.
Yeah. And then the scenes at the house, like you're outside and you're looking inside, like because there's always a lot of architecture in your works. So of those that I've seen, there's always like a very like you were saying also, like that, structuring space, like whether it's a real space or an unreal space. So what does that house Why is that house there?
Yeah, so I was just trying to find a house that hadn't been changed since the 70s in Portugal. That was difficult, a family house, because a lot of those houses, they were either very small. Portugal was kept poor. That was part of Salazar's way of controlling people. And so when I found that house, it was lucky. It was very lucky to find something that was a few different things. That firstly, that it had always been, the architect Antonio Teixeira had always insisted that people would visit it during the magic hour. So it had to have this relationship to night and day, or one turning into the other.
Okay.
One turns into the other, which was like obviously an echo of everything that I was thinking about, which also has this weird trippy relationship to light at that time, where things feel like you can't really tell the difference between where one thing begins and where one thing ends. So that whole kind of trippy LSD thing also managed to enter the house too. And then for some, I'm so grateful, for some reason, his wife, because he passed, loves that house and won't let anyone change it. So it hasn't been turned into, like a lot of architecture in Portugal, been turned into this kind of luxury nothing. But this is like a historical, very personal, intimate family house that they built together, he and his wife together. So it's this it's also kind of, and the time that it was finished is very significant.
You mean the time, the 70s, or like the
that it was completed right at the time of the revolution, and that it has this sort of
aura.
There has this aura, but that also this fake family that he's trying to construct without ever putting them in the same room can then live in this fake location that was perfect for that film that never happens.
And you're outside and looking in, and then you go inside.
Yeah, we shot a few times in the end because it was tough to, or because I bought a Steadicam.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't advise anyone to do, thinking I could. Oh man, that was a disaster. So I kind of did, and then I bought that Steadicam, and then I sold it, and then the person stole it from me and never gave me the money, and then so it all went through so many different combinations of like family.
History of Emily and Steadicam.
It's over.
But isn't it the operation? Isn't it good in that sense?
It's just, you can't. I think to be a Steadicam operator, you have to just do that all the time.
You have to be an expert at that.
Yeah, now I know.
So that was like, when you were shooting that, you knew what you were gonna do with that footage. Basically, you were shooting it on purpose to have that.
I knew it would be the location for the family, or the idea of the location for the family,
And then the country house with a what's that?
What's the country house?
Like there's a palm or some meditation, and then there's this like old.
That's all an animation. So that's all kind of.
What I thought.
Yeah.
It is an animation.
Yeah. So that's all constructed, and the way that was also kind of important, because the way to make it look real was to include things like camera shake, or because it comes to you and you can make it completely perfect, because you don't have the foibles of me trying to do it on my crappy Steadicam, or someone who's quite good at doing Steadicam also accidentally tripping on a leaf or whatever. If it's in CGI, it's perfect, but the problem with it looking perfect is you can immediately tell that it's CGI. So then when we had to go back in to make it incorrect again, which is also kind of fits into this whole thing of things pretending to be things that they're not, in order to take, like dress up in like this thing he says at the end, like dress up in with the airs of the living by mourning your dead. It's all of this kind of animation dressing up in the airs of the human being with all of their faults.
Wow. There are so many realms in this work. I'm kind of trying to go a little bit like differently at it, because like I saw your interview with what's her name, Piper.
Oh yeah, Piper Marshall.
Yeah. So like that actually was what I was gonna like basically talk about. But so like but seeing it there, okay, so I don't need to talk about that. You know, that's all there. So I'm picking out little things and stuff that you know made me curious about it, because like this work, like as we had our conversation, like I don't understand it, and that's a compliment, you know. Like I love to have something that I sense and I make my own, you know, narrative of what I'm seeing and experiencing. But I know that I'm on my own, kind of like with that. So like I kind of wanted to ask you, like, what you wanted in your mind, what you wanted the audience to kind of experience. Do you start, or do you embrace that authority to like deliver a message or something like that?
I really don't enjoy someone telling me if I'm watching a work, I really don't enjoy a voiceover coming in to tell me what I should be thinking.
What is it about? Oh.
Yeah, I don't want someone to tell me what I should be thinking.
Oh.
So I try not to do that to other people, and I hope that there's enough coherence. I hope that if I make it according to something that I find fascinating, then someone will find something else fascinating in it, and that's all that I think you can really do. I think I don't know. I don't know if you can really lock stuff up and tell people what it is.
Oh.
Or you can, but I don't want to.
Oh yeah. No, I'm thinking about, like, you know, like the difference between propaganda and art is maybe that, you know, that in a propaganda you want people to have some understanding, or you want to deliver some message, but then again it gets also complicated, like you know, like Riefenstahl's, you know, Nazi film is you know, a work of art.
Oh yeah, because formerly she was so inventive.
Oh. And you know, like, you can also be afraid of it, you know. It looks awesome, but it also represents something that you could be totally scared of.
Yeah, I mean, with the knowledge that we have historically, yeah, that relationship between, but that's also why, and it's interesting that you bring up Riefenstahl, because I think that's also why I think a lot of my education was full of people saying that spectacle in and of itself is suspect because of its connection to Nazi propaganda, but also because it's seen as being something that kind of seduces you in order to manipulate you. But I think also, you know, another piece of work that I made, Sea Oak, was a lot to do with this idea of what happens when you say that the form in itself is inherently suspect, and so you stop using it, but then all those other people continue to use it, and you try and use pure rational discourse, is that you're letting these really powerful tools fall into the hands of other people, and I think that that's a mistake.
Oh, wow! I love that. No, I totally do. Like, because it's also like the you know, the terms of, you know, like art being something on a pedestal and not you know, like that there's a high art and low art, and in many ways that I see it as the same thing. It's a lost opportunity to do something, you know, in a language that a lot of people understand.
Sure. I mean, I think also, if you're asking me if there's something else that I wanted the work to do, it was I did also want the work to be a kind of a reflection on the relationship between technology and fascism.
Oh.
You know, particularly because of this rise of right-wing movements that we see, that there is this kind of idea that they speak about, this kind of innocence of technology, that's or this kind of ideology that doesn't think that it's an ideology, or it describes itself as not being an ideology, which of course in and of itself is an ideology, then becomes this thing which is which makes it more pervasive and invisible and powerful, and
it becomes a monster, absolutely. Like like all these things. So, but don't we then end up with like being just pessimists and inward and like the world doesn't really care, so I don't really care myself?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's important to bring people into dialogue also that don't necessarily talk to each other, and that there is something that comes from that, which is it's not like, and that's also why I didn't want to demonize the two young men. I don't think it's helpful to say. I also think it's really unhelpful to be like a kind of technology curmudgeon. I'm with Legacy Russell on that, like this glitch feminism idea that you don't like saying that it's only this bad thing is also kind of almost kind of steamrolling through all the great things it's done for minorities, for instance, for people who are kind of physically challenged. That it has also been this kind of great sort of what's the word? Galvanizing. I mean, technology has also been this great galvanizing force, but I think it's also somehow a reflection, and important to reflect on things like, even just the idea of machine learning, which is a bastardization of this idea of learning, because it isn't learning, it's categorizing and it's controlling. But it's this, if you don't hear these things, if there aren't any other voices coming into that, like right at the beginning of lockdown, there was this idea of, how are we going to teach people when we need to do all of this social distancing? And all of the tech companies kind of were immediately ready to cash in on that. And I remember reading Naomi Klein saying, "Why don't we just pay more teachers?" Why is that not even part of the discussion?
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of your upbringing, you're born in England?
I was born in England.
And you did school there, and just go through that a little bit.
Yeah, I was born in England. I grew up in a place called Stoke-on-Trent, and then I went to London. I studied at St Martin's. I lived in London for 15 years. Then I couldn't financially continue to live in London. I went on the road a little bit looking for somewhere that I could. I came to Lisbon to do a screening with Constella Lisbon. And it was them and some other people in the city and the city itself. I was kind of lucky. Also, I got here before this insanity of real estate flipping. People have started. I mean, they're doing it in Miami, right?
Like so crazy that it's now it's like the most expensive city to rent in United States, which is ridiculous, completely ridiculous. And rents have gone up over 50%.
Yeah. I mean, it's extraordinary to me that we have a socialist government and people are buying. I mean, I meet them in the surf. People are buying flats for $500,000, turning them into flats for Bitcoin people, selling them for $1 million, and they're just doing that.
And those people you meet on the waves. You're a surfer.
Yeah, I'm a middle-aged bad surfer. Yeah. Let's not overrate my surfing qualities.
So, and how long have you been living in Lisbon?
I think it's 8 years now.
Oh, and you speak Portuguese?
I speak okay Portuguese.
Oh, to get yourself around, and can you talk about your art in Portuguese?
I have to write it down, yeah.
Yeah, okay. To have it structure. Oh.
Yeah.
And you see yourself there for a while longer?
Yeah, I think I would find it difficult to leave now. I have really good friends here, and I also I really like it here.
Oh. So, what is it about, like, apart from like existential, like that it was like a nice place, and what is it about Lisbon or Portugal that you No, I'm thinking, like, because we're artists and we are kind of like gypsies in a way, because we are always looking at society.
Yeah.
I have this, like, am I a participant in society? I kind of have to say, like, more no than yes, even though of course I am participant, but like I'm just watching. I'm just there to meter conditions of human experience or something like that.
I mean, there's a lot of very small things that I like about here. I like that the cinema culture is so strong.
Oh,
I like that people still show films on film. I like that you can get into nature very fast and it's not destroyed.
expensive.
It's not expensive and it's not destroyed. I like that things like Malmarsh study program are here, so there's great minds coming through. I like that it's a left-wing government, even though Costa could do a lot more than what he's doing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's. It's also like a very beautiful person that doesn't know that they're beautiful in a way. It's sort of
Wow.
it's kind of that kind of thing.
Oh, no, I love that. That's so opposite to Miami. So just to, like,
what's Miami like? What kind of person is Miami like?
it's too sexist to even say that out loud, but
Don't.
No, exactly. But no, but it's the difference between when I came here first, which like 2004-5, when I moved, is that Miami was a city that wasn't really aware of itself. It didn't have like it had a fluctuating identity, and I loved it because of that, because that opened up all kinds of doors, and no doors were left like closed. Like it was very open. But the more I've been here, and I've been here like 15 years plus, is that it's closing much more up and becoming this Latin city that it is, and kind of always was, but it was just not aware of it. And so that means, like, I've lived in New York and well, in Brooklyn, sorry, but and I was like a young art student, just graduated from Rutgers. I moved to the city, and you realize in those like closed environments, like art and life and what comes out of it, it's like an inward spiral. Like it's identity that you have to take on and become, otherwise you shouldn't be there. So a demand of becoming something that you not necessarily are. So Miami is becoming more like that. It's still like much more open and stuff like that. But I find it closing up.
Yeah.
Just to finish, we have talked for 40 minutes. Like just to like have the last chapter about like our mutual Moscow experience,
which is now shameful.
Which is now shameful, isn't that like amazing? This was like a stepping into something that you kind of like shouldn't, but of course you didn't know at the time. But but it's also like, I'm kind of like a sucker for like last stands, So this was kind of like the last stand of us being Western. There's no other way of describing us, but like a product of Western civilization, to come in there and speak our minds, or speak our language, and that's no longer possible.
Yeah, I mean, and even less possible if you're Russian. No?
Yeah, probably was never possible for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really tough one to speak about because it's also so complex, and I mean, like all wars are wrong. All imperialist ambitions are wrong, and this one is particularly terrifying because we're seeing it all the time.
Yeah. No, and it's also like it's a you start a war, but then war takes a life on its own. It's like nobody's in charge of this anymore. It just has to conclude one way or another, or not. Like it's just like a thing. So you just have to like spark some put something a little bit on fire, and then the fire will take control.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
I mean, I read something from a military advisor in the CIA who said something today, which was like a proxy war is bad enough, but an inter-imperialist war is worse. Like if Russia gets backed into a corner and then thinks, yeah, I've got no way out, that's also something we don't want to see, right?
No. But your work there, let's talk about that, because that I have to start with that, because like well, no, you talk first.
For what we showed in Moscow, what I showed in Moscow. Yeah, I showed I Gave My Love a Cherry That Had No Stone, and it was at the invitation of Ragnar and Ingeborg. We were both in that show, To Moscow. I think this was a piece that I'd shot in the Gulbenkian with an artist, the dancer.
Say that name again. In the
Gulbenkian, which is a museum in Lisbon that I was attracted to because it has this odd timelessness. It's like it's like going into the past to look at an imagined future from that vantage point. And I worked with the dancer David Marquis. We did a lot of work together to try and work out what you do with your body when you're afraid, or what you do with your body when you're sort of in between states, or if you're maybe partly animal or you're partly not human. So we watched a lot of stuff and we did a lot of rehearsals and experiments, and then it worked in this space. And we also shot with half with a drone. But as you probably know, using a very large drone in a small space creates a lot of wind. So the wind bounces off the walls and then it comes back and it destabilizes the machine. So it was partly with the drone and then partly with the cameraman, Luis Branquinho, pretending to be a drone. So we did like this.
Okay.
So the whole crew, we were all choreographed too, because we had to keep on hiding behind the desk or, like moving around in order to make it feel like the space was empty, but actually we were doing a lot of lighting or moving around stuff. So yeah, in the end, it turns out to be this kind of thing that you're not sure if you're watching someone real or someone who's computer generated. You're not sure if the space is real or not. And at times also he'll put his foot on a glass table and it will turn out that it's water. So you're not even sure what material is correct.
And one time I pops out in and out.
Yeah.
No, but that's funny, because then you're saying that you because I noticed the shaking and I love the shaking. I love the hesitance of the camera, like it gets to a stare and then it retreats, but again and like a little back and forth.
Yeah, all of that choreographed super strong, because we also had to do everything in one night, so we were really bad.
Okay. But you say like the movement, the dance came more from the drone than actually like you guys.
Well, both, I think, because when David and we couldn't rehearse in the space, we would rehearse in this other space, in Gaivotas. So we did a lot of rehearsal, and then we invited Luis, and then we talked about the camera movement, and then we sort of knew, we'd taken photographs, and I did a lot of storyboards. We kind of knew where we wanted to be. And then it was a question of bringing it all together, which was super exciting, nerve-wracking, but also this kind of adrenaline, because you're trying to get it all in one shot too, which is always this thing of, did we get it? And it's a drone, right? Also, so you can't put it on the monitor. You don't know. You have to.
No, you don't know what you have. Anyway, Emily, appreciate the talk very much.
I appreciate that too.
Appreciate you coming to Miami and showing your wonderful piece at TV.
Thank you.
That was like amazing, you know. DV is like trying to mirror certain like art that is that, you know, Miami is not always exposed to. So this was fantastic. I hope you're coming back to Miami for another for another. Yeah, Charlotte is just waking up. So it's a, you know, very natural time to like maybe stop. But super thanks again.
Thank you. It was really nice.
And we'll talk soon.
Sure.
Thanks, guys. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It was a really great experience to show also with DV, and also to know your space and get to spy a little bit into your studio.
Yeah. Fantastic piece, really. Thank you so much.
Yeah, she spent a lot of time in your studio, Lennon. You didn't know, you know.
Guys.
Is it over?
I'm gonna close it out. Yeah. Oh. So thank you guys for great talk, and yeah, thank you so much.
Oh. If you, Leighton, if you could do the also like, because this was a very nice interview that PP had with, you know, like I really am, you know.
Hi down there. Hi.
It's over, right? We're not live. Okay.
If you could include that in the link.
What,
are we allowed to do that?
Include what in the link?
No, there's a Vimeo link to that conversation that she had about this piece.
Oh, I don't think I can.
I've got a question.
I can link it from.
Have you seen that? Sorry, guys.
How do you want to link it?
I don't know. I can just with a copy and paste of a link.
I'd have to load it if you send me the link. But you want me to play it?
Gentlemen, this is all really fascinating for the audience. But there's a question in the box. Ought I to answer it?
Oh yes.
You think?
Mention how you combine the sound so effectively to the liminal filming.
Okay. Thanks, Danny Kolka, for the question. I'm guessing you meaning in Night for Day. Yeah. How did I combine the sound so effectively with liminal feeling? Yeah, I think I am. Now I've insisted on answering your question. I don't know how to answer it. I think the sound always. I was always trying to use. I always try to use music as though it were an image, or that it was, or a document, or a kind of musical document. So I think, with the triangle that comes in, it feels as though it's like a reminder, so that it comes in at the same time as the three images. So you have this. It's like you remember that there's three, and then it also marks the beginning of new images that are perhaps something to do with someone describing somebody else. I'm not sure if that's what you mean. And then when there's a song that comes in, "You Ain't Gonna Know Me Because You Think You Know Me," this Louis Maholo Maholo song. And that's there partly, obviously, because it's called what it's called, but also because it has this kind of cyclical, it does something to you. Like I still listen to it a lot. I still listen to it in the morning. It's like has this, what's the word? Like ritualistic, cyclical thing that somehow feels as though it's in the round too. the triangle in the round is also trying to do. So I think it was somehow how to make it work sonorously without it feeling like a concept, but that it also felt as though that it was conceptually faithful to the film, if that makes an answer of anything.
Did the audio come like? Did you do the audio as long as you were editing, or did you come in with that later?
I did. I came up with the 1, 2, 3 thing really fast, and it was a relief. And then and then the triangle in the round I did a bit later, and the film sort of found itself in different ways, and also the music from Tales of Hoffmann.
Yeah.
I had this footage, this digitized version of my computer misreading the DVD from the Tales of Hoffmann, and then I knew I wanted it to be in there, but I love this Dolls song that is a very hard aria to sing because it's a woman pretending to be a robot that's pretending to be a woman. So you have all of these, the way that it's constructed is inhumane and difficult to achieve as a performer. So this also came in as the love song at the end that is sung. that we see at the end.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danny says great answer. By the way, so you did answer it well.
Great.
We could talk about more about because audio is of course like the second wheel in a film or in a video.
Yeah, but let's not bore people. I think it's good to put in your head.
Yeah, true.
I just wanted to let everybody know that it closes tomorrow. So if anybody, just to catch it before we close this exhibition tomorrow. So just reach out to us and just schedule an appointment if you want to come and see it before it closes. So
I'll be there, like probably all day.
Cool.
Well,
what was that?
I would say that's a reason in itself to go to DB.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and take care. Till next time.
Till next time.
Till next time. Bye. I didn't know that was like. I thought it was over when you came in.
Oh, it was still running?
Yeah, it was still. And then I started to work with something technical, and it was still like live.
Because I heard you say, is it over?
Yeah, I thought it was over. I thought like as soon as lady